Do it now.
Hello and welcome to Liveline. And yes, you're going to want to stay alive for the next few years. Note to self, they're going to be good years ahead. Tonight we have Richie, Mart, and Pete. No Chris tonight. He's catching up on work and all these parts in the last few days. But yeah, tonight's the night where we invite you to come on the show, have a bit of a chat. You set the agenda, you set the topics you want to talk about, and there's plenty of room. There's plenty of spaces. Um, I'm going to go straight. Actually, I want to say another thank you to people for subscribing and bringing us to 1K subscribers. We've actually gone well past that since the last night we were on. I think we're on 1,200, and now the race to 2K begins. So yes, I'm back with a different color and saying subscribe to get us to 2K. So yeah, you know what? You click that subscribe button at the bottom, or go to youtube.com/c/loaded HQ, because I will forget to say that later. So
I love
let's
that Saudi green, Naz.
yes,
I love that
Saudi
Saudi
green.
green.
You notice, Pete. You notice.
Yeah, I love it.
Actually, just before we bring on Seb, how are all you guys?
I'm good.
I'm more sober than I was on Sunday show, to be honest. I'm feeling a tad better, yeah. But yeah, good. I think the other thing, Daz, that we should maybe give a little bit of recognition to, just besides everybody that's subbed. We obviously did the live kind of show on the evening of the takeover. Had a really good night. David Craig came on. Must actually give out a shout to David Craig. He kind of ended up in A&E today with a possible suspected heart attack, but he has, I think, from what I read, some infection in the lung or something. So he is on the road to recovery. So Davy Craig, shout out to you, pal. Boys here are thinking of you. But just looking back at some of the shows that night, we had a load of people watching. We've had close to 5,000 views of that show. And the show we then did on Sunday, considering I was probably still drunk, if you haven't watched it, we're approaching nearly 5,000 views on that. So we've gained a load of viewers, but you know, the shows are there. And considering on Sunday night it was the five of us just chatting and kind of going back over the events to get, you know, the subs that we did and nearly 5,000 views, I think for five dads who do this as a hobby is absolutely amazing. So thanks to everybody genuinely over the last week that has watched the shows, joined us, followed us on Twitter, and done all of that. So yeah, look, we're going to keep bringing you what we can and shows and different bits and pieces. So thank you very much.
Nice one, Mark. Without further ado, let's bring on Seb. Hey, Seb. Welcome.
Hey, gents. All good?
Seb, how are you, pal? Yeah, all good, mate.
Yeah,
all
good, man. Good. I was listening to the show yesterday, in fact.
Did you like it?
Yeah. So I listened to the bit where you got up to the managers, and there's a couple that were on the list, and there's a couple that aren't on the list that I'd like to actually mention.
There is, Seb, and the reason why that for that, actually, I have that old list here, and I have a new list as well for you. But yeah, the old list was I only took the top 20. Let's say there's like about 4 pages of names for one spot, one position that isn't even vacant yet. But yeah, and I have a new list as well. Maybe I'll just bring up the new list for you just before you mention your suggestions. And this is with the updated, and I'll get rid of my banner for a few minutes. Here's the updated list with prices as of a few hours ago. But yes, Seb, who did you want to mention or suggest as a potential candidate?
Oh, okay, so I know, I think someone mentioned Brendan Rodgers was like second choice, and I do actually really understand that, because obviously he's managed in the league. I know Conte's managed in the league as well, but I actually do think Brendan Rodgers is a really good shout. I'm going to go a bit rogue here, and I know no one's going to expect this, but I've always he might be a bit of an old timer, and his time in the Premier League didn't go too well. But I'd love to see Big Phil Scolari back in the Premier League. He's won the World Cup. He's won the World Cup. It didn't work out for him at Chelsea, but I know that when he was at the Brazil squad, I know that all the Brazil team loved him, and I know he's a massive motivator of players. And I don't know if a relegation, I don't know if, maybe a relegation battle may not be for him, but I don't know. His name just sprung to mind. And I mean, as I said, he's a World Cup winner. And I think Joachim Löw was mentioned yesterday. Joachim Löw was never mentioned in the Premier League. I think he managed Bayern Munich, didn't he? Did he?
I can't remember who it was. But...
Has he ever managed the club team?
So long. I can't remember.
He and on this list he's down at 60-61. So he's definitely an outside shot. Yeah, I know. Pete, you mentioned him on the show on was it Sunday? But for me, I would not like to see him as a Newcastle manager. He's done it at international level. I don't know what he's done at club level. I wouldn't follow the German leagues that closely. Okay,
cool. So what do you lot think of that suggestion? Because I know he's probably been out of the manager game for a while. He might be managing in Brazil. But as I said, as a World Cup winner, I believe he's got the credentials. He's managed big players as well, and he's proven great motivator of players.
Did he speak English? I can't remember.
Yeah, he did. I remember some of his press conferences.
So that for me, that's key. That as well. That I'd like a manager that spoke English, because with this we want communication right across the board. So I think because we could potentially pick anyone. He speaking English would be key for me as well, a key aspect to it.
It's an interesting one because he's got pedigree. He's got real pedigree. The only thing I'll say is that he hasn't managed in Europe since he was at Chelsea. So I think he left Chelsea 2009, 2010 maybe, and I don't think he's been back since. And I think for the reasons that we've talked about, we would need a manager, like you said, Seb, that would be able to firstly command respect, which I think he would, but also he'd then need to get us out of a potential relegation battle. And I don't think he's ever really experienced that. But as a pedigree, yeah, definitely, he's got the pedigree. He's got the trophies behind him. I just think maybe his time out of Europe, and in particular England, might just go against him from that point of view. That's just my opinion.
Fair enough, I agree with that. But what about, obviously, any new manager, obviously they're going to bring in their own backroom staff, but they're going to want to bring in some people who know the club, was at Arsenal. Yeah. What ex-players would you bring in back to the club? Not just as, obviously, we already discussed Alan Shearer and obviously as an ambassador, etc. But what ex-players would you like to see back as part of the training staff? Because I've got a couple of thoughts. People like Norberto Solano, people like that. Is there anyone particular that sticks out from my ex-players?
Nobody's a good shout, Seb, especially with him being on the coaching staff of Peru. So I think that would be a fantastic shout to bring him in. I think people who were passionate about the shirt, like people, like we see the way that Warren Barton spoke on he's been interviewed on Sky when he's obviously also when he's doing his NBC work over in America. Possibly someone like Rob Lee as well. I don't know whether he's done his coaching badges before, but I think people like of that entertainers era that knew what it was like to play in front of the fanatical fans during that entertainers era, and that can get through to the players and just say, look at what this club can be, what it was, and as long as you put the effort in every single week, that the fans will love you, win, lose, or draw. I think that's something that we've got to get if we were to bring ex-players back onto the coaching staff, Seb.
Cool, fair enough. Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to see kind of what qualifications. I think you could be on mute, Martin. But what qualifications the ex-players have because I'm all for all giving them roles as ambassadors and promoting the club and everything like that. But we also. We have a job to do here as well, so it can't be all about sentiment. We need to bring the best in, and it will take time. But see what Are we going through the CVs? That's what I'm trying to say. Get the best.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't have any. Personally, I wouldn't have any of the legends back. Yes, it's great to have ex-players back at the club, but we're in a position now where we're the richest club in the world and we've got no time for sentiment, certainly in the playing staff. Ambassadors, people that are linked to the club, of course. You know, your Kevin Keegans, Ryan Shearers, various others. The only one I probably have is maybe Lee Clark, and that would be in the under-23s. I wouldn't have him in the first team. I want the absolute best. I want the best in the first team. I want the best coaches. I want the best manager. You want the best of the best of the best. And you know, the only one that say is of that top level at the moment is Graham Jones, and I think he'll be the only one that stays around because he's already proved his credentials. At England at the Euros, and he's got massive respect. But for me, after that, nah. And none of those ex-players have proven at top level that they're capable of rolling with a force, because that's what we'll be. We're going to be a force. And I don't think any of those ex-players have proven that they can roll with a potential force in the first team setup.
Yeah, I agree with Pete. I mean, I think, look, for me, one of the main ones is, at some point, I'd like to see some recognition for Keegan. I'd love to see him come back as a guest of honor at one of the games. Maybe not, the first weekend, but certainly I'd like to see some format of a role, and probably Shearer too. I think, the other guys, depending on what their qualifications are, the likes of Rob Lee and, certainly likes of Warren Barton over in the States, maybe something along a scouting role, or, doing selling the club. I think they've got, people like Ginola in the French leagues. You've got Warren Barton in the US. So I think certainly for me, I think there's options for scouting, and certainly, pushing the club and promoting and everything else. But I think, I agree with Pete. Like, we've got that influx now, and I think, listen, I think as much as sentiment's there, I think Staveley and Kadasi and the rest of them, I think they know that. I think we'll see massive growth, and I think, I think the one thing that we have to do is trust in them. They've trusted in us. They've taken a long time to get to the club, and I think, like Twitter today is, people starting to jump up and down already that Bruce is still there. Take time, keep the faith. We've said it numerous times on this show pre-takeover. Keep the faith, it'll come. Bruce won't be here forever, right? Whether he's in the dugout on Sunday, would it be a dampener? Yeah, probably. Am I worried about it? Not really, because I know that things will change, and we will get, as Pete said, the best managers. We will get the best coaches. We may get the best director of football, and we will grow, and we will be a force. So I think, everything takes time. I can imagine. I'm sure, certainly from what I've seen of the new consortium, from Staveley, even from the attitude at the training ground and everything else they've done, these are professional people. This isn't Mike Ashley, Lee Charnley, Justin Barnes we're talking about. These are professional business people who will take time to make the right decisions strategically, commercially, and politically. Dumping a manager, it's very easy to come in and pull a plug, but there's contractual stuff, there's payoffs, there's all the other stuff that goes with the backroom stuff. Takes time. So yeah, let's just be patient.
And who's going to make the tea for Graham Jones if they let them all go?
I think one thing that's a good thing to follow on. Daz, can you put the list back up of the current odds?
There you go, Rich.
It's just basic going off what me and Pete touched on briefly on Sunday night about I think that probably the first appointment's going to be director of football, and obviously we discussed Ralph Ranić, which me and Pete said it'd be a fantastic appointment. Now what you've got to do is, if we were to appoint someone like him, or a director of football, or however you want his title's going to be, you've got to look at that list and think, who of those is like a head coach type of thing, who was a manager, who you've got to look at who would work with someone above them.
Yeah.
So, I look at Brendan Rodgers. Yes, he was a head coach originally. He came to the coaching staff at Chelsea, then he worked his way up through the leagues and stuff like that. So I think he'd be someone who would work with the director of football. I think Frank Lampard would. Favre, I can't see that happening. Martinez, I couldn't. Gerrard, possibly. Eddie Howe, possibly, you don't know. Conte, I can't see him working with a director of football because he'd want to do it his own way. I think this is some of the stuff that we've got to start taking into consideration, that the director of football is the most important appointment on my eyes, because there's no appointing a manager, then bringing the director of football in if there's no chemistry there to start with. You've got to have that director of football in. He can then obviously see what philosophy we want to build. Obviously Man City's got an identity. Obviously, we're going to be in that sort of role now where we're going to want to create our own identity, how we're wanting to play and stuff like that, and then bring it all the way through the academy and stuff like that. So we need a head coach or a manager, whichever the title's going to be, who's going to work and have that chemistry with the sport and director. So I think that's one thing that's going to, you will look along those lists. I would look out, like, as I said, Favre, Conte, they perhaps won't work with a director of football because they would want to have the decision. A bit like what Rafa used to say, he wanted to have total control over football. So, I think that's something you'd have to consider.
Just something you mentioned when you mentioned Favre, Richie, is something I was reading today. I was trying to do a bit of research on Favre, and he's done well in the German league. He went to Nice as well, right? And he got them into the Champions League. I think they came third. But he also had a big falling out with ASM, and the Favre stormed off the training pitch. So that doesn't bode well if he ends up turning up. I know it could be patched up and stuff like that, but
that was his first day of training as well.
Fair enough. I think Zidane. Obviously, he's worked at Real Madrid, and you know what Madrid are like. The board always get involved in signing of players. He could work on the director of football.
I tell you, concerned about his language. He doesn't speak English.
I tell you, who is a good shout of somebody that could work at a level with a director of football that has done extremely well in winning titles and trophies across continental Europe, barring an iffy spell with Arsenal, is Unai Emery. And a lot of people are not talking about him. One with Seville, one in France, one elsewhere, has pedigree, has been winning trophies, works under a director of football ship in 2 clubs he's already been to, including Edu at Arsenal. He at 40-1, he's got all the traits and the Premier League piece. Arsenal, wasn't great for him, but credential-wise and ability to win, if you look at what he was doing and what he was doing with Seville, I'm telling you what, he's a good shout as a first-time hit for somebody to come in working with a very, very strong director of football. I think it would be hard to look past. Now, I don't think anybody will look at him, but he's worth, in my book, when I look at that list and I look at the names that could bring you possible early trophies, if we want to be successful, I think he's a really good shout. I don't think it's going to be a Gerrard. I'd be surprised if it was a Lampard. I said on the show on Sunday night, my choice would be Brendan Rodgers. I like the way he plays ball. I think he's done great with Leicester on a similar facet, I suppose, of what we want to go through club-wise in the transformation and the transition. I mean, Pete, you live in Leicester. You've seen what it's done to the city. You've seen the training ground. So for me, I think that, he can bring it on to that next level and take us to the next step. And I think that's what we got to remember is, getting a director of football, getting a manager. It's not going from where we are now to Man City or PSG levels. It's about going from there to maybe a solid, steady top 10. Yeah. And then from European to a Champions League over the next 3-4 years. So again, I think we need to be sensible. We're going a little bit.
And you know what, Mark? He's done it all.
Absolutely.
Brendan Rodgers has done it all. He's brought Swansea up from the Premier League, and he's made them not just a Premier League, a solid Premier League team. He got them into Europe. He's then gone on at Liverpool and was a matter of a days or two away, or a couple of games away of winning the title. Then he's gone to Celtic and dominated. So he's had the whole experience right the way through the bottom of the league, right to the top of the leagues. So he's the guy. He's the guy for me. I think he's the perfect choice to come in. Yeah. And as I mentioned before, the Leicester fans are genuinely scared about the fact that they're losing him, potentially losing him. They already had a little wobble when Arsenal were interested in him and he stayed. But actually, what we have to do is we have to act now. Leicester haven't started very well. They're a little bit imbalanced at the moment with their defensive worries. Like if we're going to unsettle him to the point where we take him away from Leicester, we have to act now. Because if Leicester hit a little bit of form again and start rising up the table and having a good season, we're not going to then pry him away because he's already built something there. It's whether we can encourage him of a project to take him away, and whether we offer enough money or a guaranteed money of a pot of money to spend straight away. That's something that we need to consider. But for me, like he's not probably the highest profile manager on that list, but he's the one that you could build in to start a project, just like we wanted Rafa Benitez to. But he's a non-factor now. He's out the equation. Brendan Rodgers for me is a fantastic choice, not the only choice. Unai Emery's a good. Like you mentioned, I personally wouldn't take him, Mark, and I said that on Sunday. Actually,
yeah.
For the points that you've made, you're absolutely right. I would just question he's probably his best period of time has always come in Spain, so maybe that's a country that he's very used to.
Yeah, possible.
But his potential's there. You're absolutely
exactly.
right.
And the thing for me, Pete, and I think that this is probably something that not everyone has really talked about, which is there is a much bigger likelihood that we will have much more of a mix of foreign players because of who we buy. So therefore, yes, Brendan Rodgers, strikes the right poses, and I think to get us going, absolutely. Listen, I shouted out Rodgers weeks and weeks and weeks back when we were talking about this, and I still think for me he would be my number one. But I think if you then look at where we might go with the players, you look at City. Robinho was their statement thing, but everybody else that they bought around that first initial signing when City were taken over were Premier League players. They weren't big superstars before they got to Aguero, De Bruyne, and other players. And we need to do exactly the same. But I just think as we do move on and we do mix it up, there's a likely we will have, I would think we will have a more continental feel to us as a team, be it not necessarily a City or, a PSG. But I think then that's when your Unai Emery's come into the mix and your Contes and everybody else, because you're dealing with a multinational team more so than a homegrown team, if that makes sense. Yeah, so I think that's the two stages for me.
Can I jump in? A bit of breaking news, lads. We have His Excellency himself, Sir Sheikh Sam of Chipperfield.
Yeah.
Welcome, Sam.
Chippers.
Evening.
Welcome to the show, Sam.
Hello.
Sheikh Sam. More like fucking Sheikh and Vac. Never mind Sheikh Sam.
I'll let you have that one because you've got to get us back at some stage.
I gotta get out of jail at some point. Yeah, you're right. What's happening, Chips? What's going on?
Well, it's been a quiet 5 days, hasn't it? I mean,
nothing happening.
No, it's just there's nothing to be down about. Everything is good.
It's literally like the click of the fingers. We've gone from being shit on the end of a shoot to something big. It's like I've worked nearly all the way through. I've only had Sunday off, and you kind of put words into it how big this is now. It's like it's been hard to take for us. It really has. It hit me on Thursday.
Would you also agree that? Would you also agree that maybe for some people the hate hasn't? It's still shocking. The hate and the shock hasn't actually sunk in, and it's only starting to sink in now. What? Newcastle got taken over? I've got that from my friends. They can't believe it.
I couldn't give a shit. People hate her. I couldn't give a shit. People hate her because you know what? I love it. I will love it to see us win the title and shithouse titles and love it with money and just look and go, yeah, up yours, because we've suffered enough. For the past so many years that karma does come around, and this is our karma now.
I had a Liverpool. I have a lad at work that's a Liverpool fan and has got Champions 2020 up at the desk and all the other stuff. He come past today and I was yawning, and he went, "Are you tired, mate? Is it through work?" I said, "No, it's just really hard work being the richest club in the world, mate." And he was just that was it. Nothing else said. He just carried on down the corridor.
No, they're all quiet in Sunderland as well, aren't they? They've all internet seems to have been turned off there for a while. So
when it also just feel great, when you watch all these Sky Sports highlights of that entertaining season, wouldn't it just be great to just? Oh yeah, that's a great memory, but don't you just look? I know I'm getting way ahead of myself, but I just want that feeling of we never won it. Like even when we when we win it eventually, we could look back on that season where we nearly won the league.
It's weird you mentioned that, Seb, because I put a tweet out yesterday because I'd watched We Are the Geordies again. You know, I love watching it anyway, but it was good to watch it for more positive eyes now, if that makes sense, because obviously it was fantastic the way that championship season went, and we could see a direction it was going with War Flags and obviously Rafa and stuff like that. Obviously to get let down, but now we're at that sort of level now where we can now take the next step and then go kick on again. And there's more optimism around the club that won't be affected or risk being affected by Ashley. You know, it's literally an upward curve from now on.
Definitely.
It'll be good.
I think people as well though need to realise. Can I just say about Bruce? And he's my favourite topic on here. I think with oh god, that's my nightmares tonight. Cheers. I mean, it's Freddy Krueger, isn't it?
The jacket's all right though. I like the jacket.
The jacket's the best part about it.
Yeah,
that's
better. That's better.
Matt by all the kit now.
We have to move away from DH Gate eventually.
I think people are overreacting regarding him not being sacked, because if he did get sacked now, you've got to think he's taken Agnew, he's taken Clements, he's taken the whole backroom team apart from Gray and Jones with him. So Jones would be left with who would Jones be left with? You've only got
exactly. We said exactly the same thing. Just be patient. They'll make change. Let's not rush it.
Give it a week.
If he is in the dugout, like we're not going to the game on Sunday. I'm not in the area. Neither is Daz. Haven't got tickets when we go. We'll have it on the box here. But like, if I was at the ground with new owners and all this optimism and hope, would I give a shit? Bruce is in the box. I wouldn't give a fuck. I don't care. I'm partying. I'm having a great day. Win, lose, or draw. Don't care.
I don't think he'll be there. I think they'll not want fan. I know, because there will be some idiots that'll boo with the same and all that. And I don't think they'll want that. They'll want the atmosphere.
You'll see something either Thursday or Friday. I would suspect Thursday, but
I think wrong. I mean, if he is there, I think he wouldn't be in the. I think he'll be in the stands, or in a box or something. So they won't I think he'll be out of the way completely.
It'd be interesting if he does the media duties on Friday.
Daz, it's funny you should mention that, because he was meant to do one for Sky today about Sunday, because it would have been his 1000th game. So they were going to do like a little spiel about it and look back on his career. And that was meant to be today, but Keith Downey actually said it's been postponed. So obviously no one knows what's going to happen. They'll know more Thursday, Friday, because obviously that's when the media duties normally kick in. But that was something that Keith Downey said today, that he wasn't meant to be doing that media special today, but that got kicked to the curb and been postponed.
Postponed for another club, not for Newcastle.
I think it'll be Chippers. It'll be indefinitely. Could you imagine finishing your career on 999 Premier League games as a manager? Because he'll not, once he's left Newcastle, he'll not get. He'll not. I don't think he'll ever get back to the Premier League again.
Actually, he'll take him to Derby. I think.
But that's just. Do you know what I mean? Bruce finishing on 999 is like buying a kebab special from Gills in Lowfell and not finishing the tips. Doesn't make a difference.
It's like a takeaway naming something after Bruce could have a 999 or something. But the thing is, his highlight reel is not exactly going to be long, is it? I mean, 2 promotions in 20 years as a manager. I mean, woo. Jesus, I mean, I've had longer wanks, but
This isn't the 4 fucking horsemen now, Chips. Moving on from there.
We can go in 3 directions. We can go in Chipper's direction. We can go in talk about the some more of the names that's being linked, and
we'll do that.
Or we can talk about the current squad and who you'd keep come January. But so what direction do you want to go in?
Well, I'll tell you the players I want to keep, because there's not many of them really. There's Dubravka. I'd keep St. Maximum, Wilson, Willock, possibly Hayden, and that's it. The rest can go. that tells you how bad the squad really is. I mean, under a better manager, they might improve, but I would give Lewis a chance now. I mean, give him a fresh chance, because he's still a young kid who hasn't really played enough to warrant his price tag, but the whole defence can probably get shifted because of some amount of contract as well, aren't they?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing for me, the video clips I've seen from Staveley and Maydad at well, I won't even call it a training ground, at the place where the lads put their socks on.
The first school.
Yeah. The interesting thing for me when I watched it was I thought, and to be fair, I've seen a couple of comments on Twitter saying the same. When the introduction of that was being done, I thought that Federico Fernandez acted like more of a captain than Lascelles did.
Yeah,
Seemed to
getting
engage.
away.
Seemed to engage with them more and was talking about other players and different bits and pieces. Kind of Lascelles seemed to shake the hand of Amanda and move it on. And listen, I'll always be critical of Lascelles, and for me, he's the first one that can go.
But at the same time, Martin, that was only a little clip, and I know
absolutely. But
Amanda and the Cells had a conversation on the day of the takeover.
Yeah,
but
possibly.
Yeah, you're right. It did look.
And he's still the first. He's still one of the ones that can go for me, and Shelby, and the Longstaffs, and yeah.
Look, Fernandez is more of a leader anyway. Naturally, you can see it in the way he plays. You can see the type of career he's had in the clubs that he's played at. You know, he's played at a top level at international. He's played at a World Cup. He knows how to carry himself. So he's naturally going to come across.
He's a good professional.
He is.
He's a good pro.
I mean, look, Lascelles is also a good pro. He's just not a great player. But Fernandez comes across a lot better. He looks more of a mature professional player, and you can see it in the way he comes across. You could probably see, and it won't be long. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a brand new captain anyway starting next season.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, I would agree that
they have to see out this season because he's the club captain. I don't think they want to make decisions like that to unease the dressing room. No. They'll let him see out his stint of the season, and then whatever manager is in charge come in the start of next season, I think you'll probably find there's a new captain anyway. And I think in actual fact, from Lascelles' point of view, I wouldn't be surprised if he's sold. I mentioned it at the back end, probably about November, December last season, that I said it wouldn't surprise me if he goes this summer if he got a takeover. I think he'll go next summer. I don't see him staying around much longer, if I'm honest with you. But there are certain players that have to go in January. Just to answer your point, Sam, have to go in January. Dwight Gale has to leave in January. He has to go. Club. Yep. Players like Hendricks needs to leave. Players like Kieran Clark need to leave. There's even a question mark about Fabian Schär, and people might say Fabian Schär might play better in it under another manager, maybe. But at the same time, we'll get some sell-on from him, and on the back of that, you know for a fact we'll get in a better player than him. So I'm quite prepared to sacrifice him to get another player in. There are a number of others that could leave. Joe Linton. I don't think anyone will buy him at this point. But these players have to leave, and we've talked about it before. We have a 25-man squad already set, so we know for a fact that players were going to have to leave in January in order for us to bring in any new players. We have to do that. And some of those players are going to have to leave the club. Personally, I'd get rid of Gillespie as well as another player. I'd rather bring in a youth player that doesn't necessarily need to be in the squad or on the 25-man sheet that we can still use, and use that as an opportunity to buy another player. We have to box smart here. There are certain players that won't leave. Lascelles won't leave before the end of the season. Fernandez won't leave before the end of the season. But there were players that will eventually leave from the summer and beyond.
I think one thing, just what you're saying there about getting rid of Gillespie, I'm surprised they didn't do that when they named the 25-man squad. I don't understand why they included 4 goalkeepers when you've got goalkeepers in the under 23 like Dan Langley, who could have covered for a few weeks.
And he started the York game with Dan Langley, and although we conceded a poor goal, he actually played all right. But you know what, Richie? I think the way in which this is all played out now, and the fact that we've got our takeover, goes back to one thing, And in actual fact, from what we know now, the takeover's been done, is that they've been discussing this since the summer. So I think Gillespie being in the squad as a fourth goalkeeper was the excuse to not sign another player. And I think that's what they've done.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion and my observation on it. If they've been talking since the summer, since effectively the arbitration got delayed and moved to January, I think what they've done there is said, right, this takeover is going to happen at some point between now and Christmas. I'm not signing another player because I'm not spending any more money. I'll pay you 2.5 million every transfer window for Willock because the owners will carry that on. I'm not prepared to spend any more money, which is why the 5 million loan fee from Axel Tuanzebe didn't come to pass. That's why no other loans came about. They've done it strategically, and although we were pissed off at the time, it actually makes sense why they've done it. So I think Gillespie is one of those that will definitely not be in the squad.
So Pete, the way you just said that about obviously Willock, because this is something I thought about when the transfer window was on. Obviously, the first time that we've done a deal where we've spread the cash over numerous transfer windows for Willock. If he had an idea that this takeover was possibly happening, why not do it for another player as well? Because obviously the consortium would take it on board just for that one space. You know, I'm just like throwing it out there. Is it something that you would think?
I'll tell you why. Because I believe the getting Willock in was enough to pacify us as a fan base for a period of time. It was a deflection. It was a shield and a deflection to take pressure off Bruce. Our attention was turned, and we didn't think about things. And if you think about it, 5-6 games start to get tasty. Then again with Bruce, boom! All of a sudden, takeover done. Focus is gone again. Strategic, and I fully believe that the last 2-3 decisions were strategic. And to be fair to a lot of us on this panel, in particular, Pete called it 6-7 shows pre-season that we would probably only sign one player, likely to be Willock, over a period of time. And that would be at a point when Bruce and Ashley, in particular, as the takeover stumbled, would become under pressure. And that's exactly what happened. Exactly what happened.
Yeah, I agree. I saw a comment at the bottom. It was Chris, who's normally on the show, and he mentioned about players that they'll keep. I saw he put Dummett's name on the list. Personally, I like Paul Dummett. He's a squad player. When we stayed up at the back of the end of last season, he was playing all those games. So, we need players that know they're going to be squad players. We don't want to keep people who are important first-team players now. All of a sudden, they're on the fringes. If they're going to sulk, do you really want that type of player around the dressing room? Paul Dummett, he knows the club. He's been around for God knows how many years. He's happy to be a squad player. So there are going to be some players that we have at the beginning of next season when the window closes and you're going to be like, oh, I'm surprised they're still here. And there's a reason for that. If it's a 25-man squad, realistically, we're not going to get 15 new players, and we're not going to sell 15 new players because there's players that are just going to be hard to move on as well. Shelby, I think we're probably going to want to free up some space in the middle. So realistically, let's just, for example, I can't see us getting rid of all three of Hayden, Shelby, and Hendrick. I think there's a great chance we'll probably keep one of them.
What's Carly hungry?
Because it just doesn't make sense to. There are players that we need to keep as squad players, and it's going to be a period of things ticking over. And even players that we tried to sell next summer, we may even sell them in January because we couldn't find any suitors, or we may loan them in January. So just because we've got money, the window's not exactly going to go our way because of the numbers. So
you're right, Seb, and we're going to need those players as well, as kind of backup when our first team. We're not going to have a squad of 22 superstars straight away, but in time, it's going to be a project and a building exercise. And the likes of Dummett will be like anytime he's fit and he can play, he's always proven himself. So I wouldn't mind keeping him on.
I think they'll be looking at his record and they'll think, well, we might be able to get a player in that position who can play more games. That's the only thing I'll be looking at. It's a penalty to Hungary because of a high boot by Luke Shaw. High foot in the penalty area because he tried to kick the ball and he smacked the guy in the head. Wouldn't have scored. 1-0 Hungary.
And the one thing that we haven't mentioned, about the likes of Paul Dummett, which is a great point, and he will be a squad player. He'd be a squad player at our club until he retires. Like now, he's that type of guy because he's just committed to the club. But the most important thing about someone like Paul Dummett is the fact that he's homegrown. And we need homegrown players within that 25-man squad. So he's essential, as is Sean Longstaff, as is Matty Longstaff, as is one or two others, I think, that are on the periphery as well. Andy Carroll was also that. He was a key component for that before he got released. So we need those type of players. And it's all right talking about getting rid of all of these players and getting all these brand new multi-million-pound value players. But we need homegrown, otherwise it's not going to work. We're not
I have a question. As I bring Quasem on, I want to ask the question: would you take anyone from Chelsea? And would Quasem give us anyone from Chelsea? What do you think, Quasem?
Here he is.
Here he is. Lads,
welcome
just before we do get going, can I just do a quick shout out? I had a group on Twitter not asked for a shout out, but got in contact with me today. Starting off, NUFC Netherlands. They're getting their stuff together. Big, massive NUFC group out in the Netherlands. It's just my child having a fit. Don't mind the noise. So I said, he sent me a message. So if anybody's not following them on Twitter at Netherlands NUFC, give them a follow. Get on there. They're doing some good stuff to kind of get a few follows and everything else. So I said he would give them a shout out. I've followed them. So if anybody on here wants to give them a follow, they're really trying to get their NUFC piece up and running for everyone that's a black and white over in Holland and in the Netherlands. So give them
come on the show as well.
Come on the show. Next show we do a live line. Yeah, you lads are absolutely welcome to come on. We'll send you the link and stuff. You're more than welcome. So that's your shout out, boys. Hopefully that helps you grow. But welcome to NUFC anyway.
Quasem, you're back, buddy.
Hi guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate that.
No problem at all.
So I have a question first, Quasem. Have you been out to buy your black and white shirt yet and got rid of that shitty blue one? Or what are you doing?
No, let's keep it civil, guys. Let's keep it friends. Yeah, what do you think about what do you think about Conor Gallagher from Chelsea?
Absolutely. I would take him in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat.
Yeah, he's a very good player. He's a very good player.
I've been shouting him out for the last 2 seasons. When he was at West Brom, he played us, and he at home when we played at St James's, he ran us off the park. He bossed the midfield.
Yeah, his work rate is great.
I think as a homegrown player, I think he's exactly the kind of player we need. Exactly the kind of player.
Yeah. Right. Can I just say something, guys? You probably need maybe help me here. All right. I spoke to Terry on Thursday, and I kind of had a bet with him, with Terry. I said to him, Newcastle will finish top 4 next year. And he said, no, they're not. So what do you think? Do you think they're going to finish top 4 or what? Help me out.
Not next year.
No, that's a step too far. That's a step too far.
Yeah, I spoke too early then.
I'll take top 10 in a good cup run and possibly until I get one of the League Cup.
The reason I called today, guys, because I think on Sunday I've got a feeling Newcastle will beat Tottenham.
We better.
Hope you're right.
You know, with the new owners and stuff. I think they're gonna beat Tottenham. I'm going for 2-1 or 2-0 to the Newcastle. I've got a feeling because the the owners and the atmosphere. And what do you think, guys?
No, I think
it surprised me.
Precisely for that reason. Precisely for that reason. Well, the 12th man on Sunday will make a huge difference. All the current squad and stuff like that, but that squad will have the lift that they will get off that United fan base in the crowd, with all the flags displayed from war flags and stuff like that, and the atmosphere. The owners walked on the pitch beforehand. It'll be second to none on Sunday.
Yeah, I've got a feeling. I think they're going to beat them on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I would like to ask what Donald
can I just ask?
Hey, Donald, welcome.
Well, welcome. Hi, evening, guys. Evening all. Evening to the new ones I've never met before either.
Donald, do you think we'll beat Spurs?
To be honest, I think there's a good vibe going through the club now. You know, if you look at yesterday's under-23 result, you know, there's you know, I think it's given everybody a pep up that, you know, something exciting is happening here. So I think we could. Hopefully, the players will give it that extra, whatever, few percent, and I think we can nick it. I can definitely see us nicking it. If not a win, definitely getting a point because let's face it, for that team now with new owners in, and I suppose even the manager, it's last chance saloon, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you've still got our fixtures as well, an absolute nightmare. I mean, that we've got to get something from this game on Sunday. The next 2 games, especially, we've got to get at least 4 points out of them.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree.
I don't think Tottenham playing well as well.
No, there's something not right in that team. It's there's no harmony in that team. That the spirit looks a bit not right. That's all I'll say.
It's all divided, I think.
And I think Harry Kane doesn't want to be there, guys. So he could go to Newcastle.
No, he'll not go to Newcastle.
No.
I've always looked at.
He wants to leave Spurs to win things, and we're not going to win things straight away. He's the wrong. He's probably the right player, but completely the wrong time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I can't see it getting Harry Kane. To be fair, I think there's other better world-class strikers out there who are younger that we could potentially build around and for less money. But obviously, we've got other things to take care of first.
Yeah. We got to get it right off the pitch first. I think before we start thinking of, we're all excited. We're all, since last week, but as I say, slow and steady wins the race, and basically get it right off the pitch first, like what City did. Get the right infrastructure in place, like your sporting director, like the right manager, like the right lower age group coaches, and then once we've got that foundation off the pitch, then we can start thinking about, I don't know, whoever you want, your Haalands, your Mbappes, or whoever, but got to get it right off the pitch. And the facilities, training facilities, got to ditch the wheelie bins. Simple as that. Ice baths, proper ice baths, and was it cryo chambers and all that? That's what we need.
I'll tell you what, quick question I want to ask everyone, because obviously we've discussed coaches and directors of football. Name me, I want everyone to see if they can come up with a realistic one player that they would sign in January that isn't a pipe dream, but is something that is an immediate need for this season.
And here's a help.
Mark, we'll start with you.
Sorry.
Mark, you're on mute.
No, I'm not on mute. I'm just not saying anything. Sorry, I wasn't sure that
go around the board.
I think we need a really strong centre half. We need a ball playing midfielder, but I would take a really decent centre half. So, Koulibaly, or somebody as Quazim said, Conor Gallagher. I would take him. I would take Coutinho. Listen, I'd fucking take them all. I'm not going to lie. I tell you who I would really like to see us go for. I would like to bring Jesse Lingard in, and I know a lot of people may not agree with that, but I think he could do a really, really good job for us. I'd probably go for a defender because I think we need to be. I think we need that solidity, but that mobility at the back that we don't have. We've no pace and no strength. So I think if we're to stop shipping goals, I think we've got enough, attacking wise to hurt teams. But if we go up the other end 2 minutes later, switch off and don't mark players at the back post with a simple header, we'll ship goals. We'll still struggle. Doesn't matter which fucking manager's there. So let's get defensively stronger, and then the attacking piece is there. So for me, I want to see a really good defender.
Pete,
okay, go Pete.
Seeing as Martin's gone for a defender, I think we'll get Tarkowski in anyway on a cheap deal. Or someone that Gary's just put on there, Lewis Dunk.
Lewis Dunk, he'd be a great show.
However, you read in my mind.
However, there's one player that I've had noted with a potential takeover that we could sign, and he was linked a little bit when the takeover was in 2020, in May 2020, and that's Luka Jovic. He is an outstanding centre forward that's made the wrong move in going to Real Madrid, and the Real Madrid just kind of swallowed him up. He is an absolute. He's a bully, and he's an absolute like diamond in front of goal. Him and Callum Wilson would literally tear defences apart together. And he's the guy that I would go through for as our number one strikers target. I know we've been talking about Immobile and one or two others, but for me, Luka Jovic is the guy. He is the guy.
Okay. I think there is a bit on the internet there tonight, Pete. I think he's valued at around 10 million, which would be a snip in my book.
What? Yeah, that's a bargain.
10 million? Nah, he's going for more than 10 million. He is top level. That might be the loan fee. 10 million might be the loan fee.
Could be.
But he is, for me, he's a top level striker that will get better as he gets older.
The other thing,
God's only 15 as well, because he's only young.
Yeah. The other interesting thing, lads, is the odds on Frankie Lampard are tumbling this evening.
Oh, you don't want him, mate.
Mark, don't get drawn into this managerial stuff.
No,
I don't know if I've made a decision yet. You got to remember this is what the betting people do all the time. Try the worst for it. They drop their bets for managers all the time and for players to try and get people to bet on it, and then it always ends up being somewhere else. So it was only the other day that it was Rodgers' odds it completely dropped, and he was odds on favourites.
It does chop and change, but just interesting.
I'm not reading too much into that. These guys will get the right manager at the right time when they're ready and when they've done all of their background observations and checked everything before they make the decision. These guys are the real deal. Now, I've been a little bit disappointed with one or two on social media with how negative they've been with the fact that he's not been sacked today.
Yeah,
for me,
I agree.
I couldn't care less. Couldn't care less if he's manager at Tottenham. The one thing that keeps me calm, the one thing that keeps me reserved about all of this is that he's not going to be here for much longer. I don't care if he manages the Tottenham game. It doesn't matter to me because he is going and we're going to get a significantly better manager. Now, we just need to trust the process here. We've been patient for 14 years. We need to be patient a little bit longer. These guys have been thrust into this quick turnaround of owning and buying this club. They need to do their due diligence properly now they're in the door. Now they're getting their feet under the table. They need time to do this. And we know the media are going to throw names of players and managers all over the place. That's what they're going to do because
it always happens, yeah.
But we need to be patient. We need to be patient with them, and we need to know that they're going to make the right decisions for us in the long run. So for me, I'm cool with him being manager and getting his 1,000th, and then absolutely whatever, because he's not going to be much longer after that.
Yeah. Seb, who would you go for then?
Okay. Yeah, so I totally get the point about we need a defender. 100% take that on board. But I just feel that with Callum Wilson's injury record, we just can't afford for him to not be there. Yeah, so I'm going to go for a striker. Yes, I do like Luka Jovic, but he's played so little in the last few years that coming to a new league won't be easy for him. The name that stands out on that list in terms of a striker, I would go for Anthony Martial. It may not be realistic because of the fact that obviously Cavani's 32 and he's going to leave United at the end of the season, and Ronaldo's 36, but he's been at United for so long now. So I just feel like now he needs a change of environment. He was heavily linked with Tottenham and a swap deal between him and Harry Kane. He's played in the Premier League before. We can play, if Wilson stays fit, we can play them both together. We can just drop Joe Linton, and Martial can play on both wings as well. So we can play 4-3-3 with Martial as one of the supporting strikers with ASM. And I just think
I don't rate Martial, to be honest.
I think Martial's got an attitude problem, and I think if he's not in the team,
I think he doesn't work hard as well.
Yeah, if he's fighting for position, he sulks. He's like
he doesn't work hard. He's very lazy.
I understand that. I understand attitude could be a problem, but as I said, if we're getting a world-class manager, and Ollie's not a world-class manager, is he? If you had the right manager, you never know, it could unlock something in him.
The one thing I agree with you, Seb, is that, well, I say agree. Actually, the reality of him leaving in January is massive because they actually want him to leave the club. They actually want Man U actually want him sold, and they've apparently, speaking to a lot of Man United fans that I know, they've basically said if they can get a buyer for him in January, then they're happy for him to go.
Yeah.
So actually, the reality of someone signing him is actually a lot greater than maybe we think. Whether I would sign him or not is a different matter, but there is a realistic opportunity because I think they want to collect some money for him. But they're looking to get either Kane or Haaland in the summer, with Cavani leaving. So they're looking at the top end strikers. So it could be on potentially.
Yeah, I'm not denying that his attitude may not be an issue, but once again, the right manager could unlock certain things. But it's also he may look at it and think, you know what, French players settling well. We've got a history of having high performing French players, so who knows? I'll give him a chance. He's still young. If it doesn't work, get someone else. But yeah, I'll give him a chance, to be honest.
Great. Go in the last 5 minutes, Sam.
Right. I'll be quick. I've gone for 3 positions. I would like to see us possibly get Jimenez from Wolves as a striker. I would say it's realistic, and I think he literally bullied our defence when we played them the other day. We need that centre midfielder as well. So I would possibly. I would agree, like with Martin. I would say Lingard as well could do a job, and he's only available for apparently 15 million, so that's quite cheap. And then a centre back, possibly maybe even Cody at Wolves as well. I wouldn't say he'd be that expensive. I would say he'd be realistic of getting as well. I would say if we can get them 3 players like the spine of the team, I would say it's been quite a good window, and obviously we'll get rid of a few deadwood as well.
Dunno?
Yeah, right. I'm just going to pick 2. First, defence. I think Tarkowski from Burnley, because we need somebody who's solid at the back, which we ain't got at the minute. And another one I'd like to see play is somebody who hasn't been given much of a chance at Man U, Donny van de Beek, because obviously schooled in the Ajax way. He'll probably be decent on the ball, and he'll be he'll be hungry to show what he can do because he hasn't had that chance at Man U.
Yeah.
So that's the 2 I'd like to go see.
Yeah.
I'd like them to go for.
I do like Van der Beek. I do like him. I think I'm surprised United don't play him more.
I was going to say, I've just seen on Twitter, his pre-match conference for Spurs is being cancelled on Thursday or Friday, apparently, as well.
He's got kebab poisoning.
I think if the consortium have been watching any of our pods, I think they're just going to give you a ring shortly, Chippers, and just get you on there to do it, mate. Because there's only one choice for the press conference, lad, and that's you. And first thing you do is invite Craig Hope back into the fold, mate, if you're doing it.
Chippers Bassett.
I'm available.
Let's go to Quasm, and Quasm, who would you like to see us purchase?
I think Newcastle need definitely, because Jamal he get the captain, he gets injured a lot. I think you need to Sasuke or Ben Mee or from Burnley, or obviously Lewis Dunk, he's solid as well. A midfielder, maybe you need to hold the midfielder because I think your midfielders light. Maybe McGinn for Aston Villa, and in the front I really like Tony from Brentford. I think he's very technically good. He's a big lad. He took the penalty. Yeah, Tony, I think he's very, very good player. I'd be very surprised he still play for Brentford next year. He's a very top striker, I think.
Daz?
Yeah, I'll remove it from the screen. I've already done the deal. I've agreed the fee with Ben Jacobs. It's Yuri Tillmans. That's who I want to see as our superstar signing.
I'd rather have James Maddison, to be honest.
No, we'll get attacking players later on. Let's build something solid. So that's everyone's suggestion.
I think I've got a couple of names. Just to throw it before we round off. Tarkowski, I think, is a no-brainer. 6 months on his contract. I think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
In midfield, I would look at, and this is someone else we discussed that in the summer transfer window. I know that Pete really likes him, and that's Boubacar Kamara from Marseille. He's got 6 months on his contract as well. We can get him reasonably cheap because Marseille need the money as well. So I think you're probably looking at 10 to 15 million would get him. And just a little shout up front. He's in his last 6 months of his contract from January as well. We were linked with his Italian teammate Immobile when the transfer window was when the takeover was originally muted. But Insigne's in his last 6 months of his contract as well. 30-year-old, you could get 3 to 4 years out of him. I think he's a fantastic player as well. I think he would, you could get him relatively cheap as well, 15, 20 million possibly, or wait till the summer. But I think that's just 3 realistic targets.
Yeah.
Cheers, Richie. Just one last thing to say before we bring the show to a close. I'm looking forward to running this Bruce out. You're the weakest link. Goodbye. That's coming soon, very very soon. So I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. So keep an eye on that.
Before I go, do you have any idea recently what is Newcastle linked to as a manager? Do you have any idea?
Oh, we have
everybody. Everyone
that's available and not available.
Everyone with a
you don't want the Frank Lampard, mate. You don't want the Frank Lampard. You don't want
experience, Kasim.
I think anyone with the UEFA Pro badge has been linked, Quasm.
Yeah.
I think Brandon Rodgers is quite solid,
Yeah.
Brandon Rodgers would do good stuff with Newcastle. I think his experience, he managed, Chelsea started Liverpool, Celtic, and he's doing some good job with Leicester as well. Now, I think if you can get Brandon Rodgers, I think it does a very good deal, in my opinion.
Yeah. Just a final thing to say from a Bruce out to a Bruce in. Centre Ale for all your drinking needs. Yes, I'm crap at promoting the sponsors, but
yeah, that's true.
Talk to Bruce.
Jam donuts. Just go for the jam donuts.
Jam donut ale is good. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right, lads.
Actually, just on that.
Okay, guys, thanks for having me. I appreciate that. I'm so grateful to you guys.
No worries,
have a good night.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Sorry, Martin.
No, I was just going to talk about sponsors, but it's grand. We'll do that for another show. That's all good.
Okay, that's it, everybody.
Well done on getting 1,000 subscribers. Well done.
Oh, yeah, I heard that. Well done.
Cheers, lads.
Thank you, lads.
Well done.
Cheers,
well
lads.
done.
2K begins.
Yeah, road to 2K now. Absolutely. Yeah.
Exactly.
Don't forget. All right. Cheers, guys. Thanks for joining us, and we shall see you during the week.
Absolutely.
Cool. See you later, Jen.